So for the first time in a while, new podcast in the description, remembered Manu Ginobili, given his retirement, touched on Sharp Objects on HBO now that that show is done, spoke on the new Mission Impossible as well as Crazy Rich Asians, and now we talk about this trade. We had an actual NBA trade in late August. It's amazing. I have something to talk about. So Ryan Anderson and DeAnthony Melton are going to the Phoenix Suns, and in exchange, the Rockets are getting Brandon Knight and Marquese Chriss. I think for Houston, this is more of a money move where they save about $5 million, which they can then either trade Brandon Knight, because his contract, while it is still a little bit of an overpay, it's more tradable than Ryan Anderson. It's about a $5 or $6 million difference, something like that. It also just gives them a little bit more money to play with if there's going to be a buyout mid-season. And it's a really good move because, well, it depends on how much you like DeAnthony Melton. I mean, he's kind of like Marcus Smart 2.0. You know, he's a really good defender at the point guard spot, not a good shooter, hustle guy, good rebounder, and he's like okay as a playmaker. So there's a chance that he never really gets to like being an NBA starter or whatever. But, you know, if you're a good defender, you could probably have a place in the NBA somewhere, right? Especially because Marcus Smart has shown us, even if you can't shoot, you can still be a valuable offensive player. So maybe Melton figures it out, but he's going to be in Phoenix now. And the reason why I like this so much for Houston is they didn't need Ryan Anderson, you know? Like, he does not help them against the Warriors or the Celtics or any of the better teams in the NBA, right? Because you can just attack them all day defensively. So if you can save $5 million to lose a guy that wasn't helping you anyway, you might as well do it, right? Because that $5 million can be the difference between you getting somebody and not getting someone. And I mean, I made a video maybe about a week or two ago at this point, like 7 players the Rockets should acquire this season. It was, you know, Kent Bazemore, Damari Carroll, a bunch of other guys I don't remember. Also opens up the possibility of them getting Trevor Ariza back, funny enough. If he gets bought out mid-season by the Suns, you could just sign Ariza for like the minimum or whatever, because he already got his $15 million from Phoenix. So yeah, I think it's kind of a slam dunk move for Houston, unless Melton ends up being awesome. If we can speak on Brandon Knight, is there a chance that he could actually fit in with this Houston team? I mean, maybe. They figured it out pretty well in terms of Chris Paul and James Harden being the primary ball handler, just stagger those two, and then have Eric Gordon take over ball handling duties to fill in the rest of the time. However, I do think they should play Chris Paul about 28, 29 minutes a game this season, because you're trying to have him be really good towards the end of that contract, right? And you're trying to have him not get injured when you have to bump up his minutes against the Warriors. And, I mean, hell, maybe it would be smart to even bring Harden's minutes down a little bit. And, I mean, maybe could Brandon Knight do that? Could he fill in a little bit and not be terrible? Potentially. I mean, I wouldn't get your hopes up too high, because even when he was at his best, I don't think he was really that good. But even so, he's a body. And if he can get his jump shot back, then that would be huge. I mean, he hasn't really been able to shoot since 2015. The last 2 seasons, he's been under league average from outside, but he's also dealt with injuries. So if he's all the way healthy, then he can at least be a shooter for you. And this Houston team could, of course, use as many shooters as possible. I wouldn't be surprised if he ends up not really playing that much in the big moments, though, towards the end of the season, playoffs and all that. I mean, the Rockets' rotation will probably end up being Chris Paul, James Harden, James Ennis, Melo, Capella, Eric Gordon, and then whoever they may acquire mid-season, and then I guess like Nene for the occasional minutes. Oh, and PJ Tucker. I totally forgot about PJ Tucker. You know, about a 7 to 9 guy thing, and I don't know if Brandon Knight's really going to be in there, but I mean, whatever. You save some money, and he'll probably give you some spot starts, the occasional like 25-minute game during the regular season, and if that allows Chris Paul to be ready to go against the Warriors in the conference finals, then that's an accomplishment if you ask me. As far as Marquese Chriss, I mean, I don't think that highly of him. I think he's an athlete who doesn't really know how to play basketball at an NBA level. Is that going to change with Houston? I mean, you got to really know what you're doing out there, because their defense is about switching, and they're asking Capella to do a lot, and I feel like because Chriss is also decently athletic, they're going to ask him to basically be a not as good version of Capella, and I think even that may be asking too much of Chriss. I don't know, Marquese Chriss, he seems to me the type of guy who's got to be in the G League or overseas or just not playing that many minutes for a good head coach, which, I mean, maybe this is the situation for him then. I don't know. I don't think he's going to make much of a difference, but I can picture this being good for his career in the long run. So yeah, now if we go to Phoenix, I think acquiring Ryan Anderson's actually pretty smart for them, because there's no sense in really going all out for the future at this point. Not to say trade all your draft picks, but I mean, I think it's okay to be all right, let's make a win right now move. And I think Ryan Anderson, while he's not good against the Warriors or the best teams in the league, he's very good when you're looking to take your offense that has been horrible for the past few seasons and at least make it decent, you know? Now you got Devin Booker, DeAndre Ayton, you have Troy Daniels, TJ Warren, Josh Jackson was pretty decent towards the end of last season, scoring-wise. And then you've got Ryan Anderson now to space the floor out. I picture him, I don't know if he'll start. I mean, Ariza is the better player. But whether Anderson starts or not, he's going to play a lot of minutes here. And I could picture him being really good for DeAndre Ayton, because if you're going to get Ayton post-ups and all that, and you just want to have the floor as spaced as possible, then you've got some options here. Because, I mean, could you put a legit 4 shooters around Ayton? You kind of could, because you could go Devin Booker, Trevor Ariza, Troy Daniels, Ryan Anderson, boom. Then Ayton's got all the room in the world to go to work down low. And then you could still run pick and rolls with Ayton, and then, shooters all around. That's the kind of thing that can make your offense actually decent. Now, is this team going to have problems defensively? Yes, they are, because the only good defenders here are probably just Trevor Ariza and Josh Jackson, maybe Melton if he actually plays. Is it Mikal Bridges? It is Mikal Bridges. He'll probably end up being a good defender, but, rookies, defense, that whole spiel. So this team's probably going to have a rough time in terms of giving up points, but hey, you know what? For a team that's been bad for so long, who really cares? If you can just magically be the 12th best offensive team and actually be entertaining and get people to come to the arena and all that, and Ryan Anderson can help that, even if he's only going to put up 12 points, but he's just going to give you a great spacing, then you do it, as far as I'm concerned. Especially because I think this team has an interesting internal conversation they have to have, which is is Devin Booker more of a 2-guard? Is he a point guard? I mean, he's more of a 2-guard, definitely, but is he the type of 2 that you give the ball to all the time, right? And if that's the case, is Brandon Knight really right for that? I mean, on top of Brandon Knight's injuries, it makes sense to get the guarantee in Anderson, who, bare minimum, is going to make shots. So, I like the move. Now, if you look at DeAnthony Melton, could that be the kind of guy that this Phoenix team really needs? Maybe not right now, but you fast forward 3 seasons or so, if you get him on a regimen where he's taking a lot of jump shots, hey, maybe he could be that 3-and-D point guard that would be perfect for this team if Devin Booker keeps on getting better as a ball handler and a playmaker. So, yeah, I like the move. And then as far as Marquese Chriss being gone, I mean, that's whatever. It's fine. I guess we can also talk about Dragan Bender a little bit. I made a video on him not long ago. I do think highly of him. Not at this very moment, but down the road, definitely. I don't think acquiring Ryan Anderson is really going to stunt the growth of Bender because, number one, Anderson's only here for 2 years. 2, I don't think Anderson's the type of guy where you feel obliged to play him 35 minutes a game. I mean, I wouldn't be shocked if Anderson only puts in 22 minutes per game for the Suns. And then also, Anderson, he's on a 2-year deal. And if Bender ends up being the better player, you can just play him over Anderson and it's not going to cause that much of a commotion. So I like the move for both sides, Houston gave themselves a little bit more money to work with, and got a guy who could maybe, help them out at least in the regular season a little bit. And then Phoenix found a way to improve their offense. So it's a win-win. Once again, new podcast. Manu Ginobili, Sharp Objects, Crazy Rich Asians, Mission Impossible, and that's it.